Picture it. $500 to her name, grieving her father, no stable place to live, and then the one constant through the years of chaos, her dog Noelle, dies after a brutal fight with cancer. That was Angela Gentile's life. A decade-long sad girl era of surviving. But from that rock bottom, she didn't claw her way back to normal. She buried the script and built something entirely new. Today, she's exposing what it really takes to turn pain into power. Angela, welcome. Oh, call it your sad girl era, which I love because I think so many of us can relate to having that sad girl, what the fuck era. So what did survival actually look like during those years? And what's the part most people don't see when you're barely holding it together?
Thank you for having me, first of all,
You're
because I
welcome.
think this is important because we don't talk about the messy and the gross and the tragic and the awful and the devastating in between from where, people I think look at me on social media or see what I'm doing now and they're like, oh, must be nice. And I'm like, no. Let me tell you what it fucking took to get here. And I think a lot of people leave that out, and even they leave out behind the scenes of like, well, you had your husband footing the bill while you built that business. Like, be real with yourself of what we're leaving out from the story, positive and negative. So, I mean, I guess I call it my sad girl era, but I don't think you can reflect on it and name it until you've like officially moved on from it. Because when you're in it, everything just feels normal, feeling chaotic and feeling overwhelmed and angry and just you're so short-sighted of where your life is that you can't really think about your dreams and your goals and you can't even just rest, So I don't know if I was actually aware that I was in my sad girl era for an entire decade. I was there for an entire decade.
I can kind of relate because you're running on survival mode.
I think for me, when my dad died, that was like the catalyst to shift and change. There's a before death and an after death, I think, for me. And it made me realize, like his passing made me realize like I wasn't living and everything in my life up until that point needed to go because it wasn't mine. I hated my career. I hated who I was. I didn't like who I was around, like all of it. And it was like having just an emotional like yard sale of what the fuck is all of this? What is mine? What do I take back? What do I, Yeah. And I quit my job. I started a business. I don't talk to any of the people that I talked to and who I was hanging out with when my father passed away. Like I felt like I had space now or permission to evolve into somebody different. But that came with a set of new challenges and new struggles, right? Like I started running a business. I started, running a fitness business. Like, so physically it was demanding. I was in a relationship at the time with a narcissist. Like it was just one thing after the next, but I just kept going because I was like, I got to make it work. I got to survive. I have to make money today. And it was a literal day by day process because I just didn't have the space or resources to think beyond like that week,
Yeah.
So I'm running my fitness business through pandemic, which was a joy. What a joy. What a joy. If you were an entrepreneur during that time, like you get a special badge of honor for surviving that shit. Cause entrepreneurship is hard enough, but to do it during a global pandemic where everything that you knew how to do and were taught to exist, like doesn't apply right now.
Exactly. Especially when you're in the health and fitness space, building up a gym and no one can go to it.
Yeah. We're all online in our living room. Like, well, this isn't the brand. The brand is about like cultivating energy together. So I was like, I guess we'll do it in my living room with my like roommate walking by. Like, it was ridiculous. So yeah, I did that. And then when I turned 40, I was like, I think I did. Let me back up. I think I got rid of things in my life, like little by little. There was like a slow molting. Because I think if I did it literally all at once, I don't think I would have survived that. But it was like as I evolved and made a change and accepted that change and let that change be part of my life, a new like barrier of like, well, this doesn't feel good. I don't want this in my life anymore. And a new challenge and a new opportunity just allowed me to open up. And so when I turned 40, I was like, I'm done. I don't want to live here. I'm moving out of Boston. And I didn't have any place to go. So I moved in with my family. Well, at 40, you're moving back home. What? Like, that was some humbling shit right there. But I moved back home, and I think that was the universe calling me to wrap up some childhood trauma for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
I think I ran away when I was 18 and I was like, fuck y'all, I'm never coming back. And here I am, like seeing things with tons of therapy, with tons of life experience for people who are exactly the same. So I'm the one who changed. So now I have a different vantage point, and I was like, oh, this is why you do what you do. This is where this come from, you know? So it was a beautiful thing, but it was toxic as fuck. And so living there, I'm trying to run my online business, and I was like, this isn't it. It's not making any money. I think some months I was making like $800. No, this was stupid. So business is failing. Now this is 2020, 2023. My business is failing. My dog got diagnosed with cancer. She had osteosarcoma, which is like a game over, life over cancer. And they were like, she has a month to live. And I was like, oh my God. So that was the reason I was like, you know what? Fuck it. My business isn't working. I want to spend this time with my dog. I quit. I done. I closed it down. Sorry, guys. No more. Done. I got her amputation surgery. I was like, I'm going to do whatever I can and have as much time with her as I possibly can. And now I'm $20,000 in debt. I have medical debt. I have no income. I have no job. I have nothing. All the while, my home situation where I was living with my family reached a point where it was so toxic that I could no longer be there. So now I was homeless. Now I had no place to live. So I'm 42 years old, swimming in debt. I have no job. I have no place to live. I have no money. I think I literally had the end of 2023, I had $500 to my name. I had $500 to my name, and I was bouncing around from couch to couch at friends' houses with me and my dog. Sometimes I wouldn't sleep. Like sometimes I would just like sit in my car in a parking lot because I was like, well, I have to go to work in the morning. So I started like doing odd jobs and things, right? So it was not, yeah, it was the lowest point to not have stability like that and to do that alone. And then I ended up finding an apartment, and I was living in a basement, $500. I was like, okay, I got to start like finding a job. And then I started working. I think I had 7 jobs at one time because I was like, you got to get out of debt and you have to find a fucking place to live. And that's where the journey kind of picks up from there. Like I'll kind of stop talking and see where you want to take this, but that's where things shifted. So it was like 2024 where I was like, all right, bitch, get it together. Like you are in control of your life and you have the opportunity to change your life. Like you don't have to be stuck in this story of like, I'm not enough. You're broke. You don't know what you're doing. Yes, you do. You absolutely know what you're doing, and you're doing it right now. And you're going to get even more education to get yourself out of debt so that you can like find a place to live and live the life that you want. So yeah, that's kind of my sad girl era.
Yeah, but I can relate. As you're sitting there, like telling your sad girl era story, I'm sitting there going, yep, I've been there. Yep, I did that. Like you moved in with your parents. I moved in with my brother, his wife, and my 4-year-old niece.
Yeah. Yeah.
And seeing seeing the dynamic between my brother and his now ex-wife, going, oh, you're a lot like daddy. Oh, she's a lot like mommy. Wait, things that you're saying to each other, they're triggering my inner child. Like, ooh, wait a second here.
Yeah. But I do think the universe calls you back to places because you have some work to do and you need to wrap up the thing that you need to wrap up and learn so that you can move forward and do the things that you're meant to do.
Exactly. It's like we need to learn that lesson. So, you've hit that rock bottom, and you've kind of, are in this phase where you're like building back up that momentum, so to speak. So what was the first piece that you chose to put back into place?
Money. I think that was the first thing that I was like, okay, what is your key out of this? And it's financial stability and freedom. And I made a commitment to myself at the beginning of 2024 that I would be out of debt by June. I was like, I'm giving myself 6 fucking months to get out of $20,000 of debt. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to sacrifice everything. And I don't love Dave Ramsey. I think he's a misogynistic piece of shit, and I hope he hears that if this ever reaches him. But I do think one of the things that you can learn from him is his like scorched earth approach. Like you gotta do some things that you are not happy with. You have to be wildly uncomfortable temporarily in the short term to reach the goal in the long term, right? Like I'm living in a basement. I'm working all these jobs. My underwear had holes in them. No hair done, no nails done. Like I was literally budgeting down to like the ounce of what I would eat, right? Like here's all the money that I fucking have to go to the grocery store. Like it was bare bones, like everything was calculated, everything was purposeful, and everything was intentional. And I was like, I'm not doing anything. Social? No. Date? God, no. If it isn't in alignment with me getting out of debt, I'm not doing it. And I had like in elementary school when you're doing a fundraiser and you have like the little barometer yeah, I had one of those. Right. So I could start seeing my debt be chipped away. And I said yes to every single job. I was working 7 days a week. I was like, yep, whatever you want. No problem. You want $20 an hour to take tickets at an event? No problem. Done. Got it. And I can honestly say that I got out of, I didn't do it in June, but I did it that year. I got out of debt in October of 2024. So 10 months.
Okay, not bad.
To get out. Yeah. Yeah. And I ended up finding a place to live. I ended up like getting out of debt. I have no credit card debt. I have no car debt. I have no, like I'm about to pay off my student loans. I'm just waiting to see how much they're going to forgive me for my teaching service. So
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, that was the first commitment that I made, was to get out of debt. And then I think the second thing that I did was allow myself to have peace, like getting a place to live and have peace. And this is the first time in my life, in my 40s, that I'm living alone. I'm the first woman in my family to live alone without kids or a husband or anybody. This is a big deal. So I think just reveling in a space that I've created, that I've worked for, that like this is mine and that this is my peace and that this is my sanctuary. You know, like I got the opportunity to do that. And I think that was like something that I didn't even really realize how powerful it was, you know?
Yeah, because when you're going through these situations, especially when you don't know where you're going to sleep, you know, that's what you feel. You feel that your safety is at, you know, jeopardy here, even though you're telling yourself, I am safe. You need to be in that totally different space, that totally different environment, just for your nervous system to come back on track.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like one of the things that I didn't even realize was happening. Like my central nervous system was all over the place. That's why I mentioned like having a sanctuary, because I think it was having a soft place to land where I finally got to exhale.
Yeah.
For the first time. I finally got to do the financial work that I've been putting off like my whole life. I had such a horrible money mindset. I just didn't have the tools and resources to be able to like be financially okay on my own. And having a soft place to land where I was like, oh, wow, I was safe enough to do some of the harder work that I hadn't been able to do when I was in a more survival mode. So this was like where I was able to rest and dive into some of that really deep, like healing that I had to do that I wasn't able to do when I was in the storm of the toxicity of my childhood trauma tornado living with my family. So this was like, okay, well, Angela, how did we get here? How did we get to the point when you're 43 years old and you're broke and you're in debt? Like, what do you need to shift and do so that you will never get here again? What was it about, like, the way that you believed in money? What was it about yourself that you didn't believe that you were worth more? What was it about your own habits, not just spending with money, but just like how you're spending your time and how you're not prioritizing yourself? I decided that I was like doling it out, overcompensating for everybody at the expense of my own financial, spiritual, emotional, physical health. I had done that my entire life. And it wasn't until I started living by myself where I was like, wait a second, I want to do this for me and I want to get out of debt for me. And I can't have like you kind of mentioned, I can't have these distractions. I can't bring this stuff into my life because it's going to derail me from the goals that I want.
Yeah, it's putting on that tunnel vision.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to. You have to. Because otherwise, like I wouldn't be here now. So this was like a year ago that I got out of debt, you know?
Yeah, and it just shows that it is possible.
It's very, very possible. It was just a huge commitment to myself. It was like, okay, I'm going to dedicate 6 months of my life to this thing. And anybody listening, I think we can relate to that. What happens if you dedicate 6 months of your life to your workout routine, right? You're going to see results. If you dedicate 6 months to building a travel fund, you're going to go somewhere. It's really just saying that this small period of time is what I'm going to focus on. And I mean, it's possible. It's possible when you do that for anything in your life. If you just commit to it for SMART goals, right? SMART, measurable, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Just committing to it for a specific period of time, for sure.
So losing a loved one is always hard. But I feel sometimes losing our pets is even harder. Because our pets, they're a part of us. They become our anchor. They become the one thing that when we're in these moments, we snuggle up with, we let the tears flow. They're there to comfort us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when losing Noelle, you didn't only just lose a pet, you lost your anchor.
For sure.
So how did grief strip you down, and what did it make you face about yourself?
That's a big question. I'm no stranger to grief. I think going through this with the loss of my dad, who died suddenly from an aneurysm, I think that opened me to a pain that I'd never experienced before. And I think once life does that to you, you can now understand that this is all part of the human experience. And as much as you feel pain, you also feel joy in the opposite direction. And I don't think anything will wreck me as much as it did the first time that it wrecked me, because I had no clue. I was so unprepared. So even when the time comes for my mom to pass, I feel like I have practice. Okay. I have understanding, and I have just a different perspective on death than I think a lot. I'm very accepting of it. I'm very like, if I fucking go, fine. It is what it is. I tend to live my life like, if this is it, we're going to go out on top. Like my experience with my dad shifted and changed me that this life is it. And if you're not spending every moment of the life that you've been given now, living the ever living fuck out of it, what are you doing? So I tend to look at like, I have no loose ends to wrap up with anybody. And I did that with my dog. I think learning from my dad and the first dog that I had who passed away after my dad, what can I do in this moment to make the most of the time that I have with her? And I have no regrets. I only adopted this dog. She was a senior dog, and I only had her for 3 years. But in that 3 years, I was like, this is my girl. I have never poured. And I had her during pandemic, so we were like up each other's asshole all day, every day. You know what I mean? Like we were together all the time. I think I left her for like 4 hours at max. Or she would like come with me to the gym where I was teaching. She would sit in the car. Like she was always with me. And I intentionally did that because I was like, this is all the time we have. And she should be dead. She was supposed to die after a month. But I think because I was determined to live my life differently, and I was determined to like give her everything, and I was determined to shift and change my life, I think that energy rubbed off on her, and she gave me some of her resilience of like, I'm gonna...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
She lived a whole year after her cancer diagnosis. Like even the vet was like, what's going on? I'm like, I don't know. She's a fucking warrior. I have no idea what's happening. So the thing that I've learned with that is that this is it. I treated that dog like she could die tomorrow, which she very well could have. She very well could have. And I took her everywhere. I did everything. We took road trips together. I was like, I'm going to Niagara Falls so my dog can see Niagara Falls. We're going to take a 7.5-hour road trip to Niagara Falls. Does the dog give a shit about Niagara Falls? No, she doesn't. She didn't care what we did, but I wanted to do this with her. I wanted to have as much experience with her in pictures. And I think we can do that with everything. We can do that with our loved ones and anybody that we love. Like if we're not saying, hey, what could I do right now to enjoy this time with this person or this animal or this thing that I love, you know? And when she was, you know, she was starting to slow down. I could see that because I stopped taking her to get blood work because I was like, this is just costing me money. Like she's got cancer, you know what I mean? Like chemotherapy, like there's no, do you know what I'm saying? We're just going to like follow her lead. So I started to see that she was slowing down and I was like, we got to have a party for her. Now, I am not Jewish, so no disrespect. Like this was not something to be disrespectful. I work in entertainment on the weekends and I host and MC bar mitzvahs. So I was like, we're gonna have a bar mitzvah for my dog.
That's cute.
She's 13 years old. We're gonna have bar mitzvah, and that's what we did. I threw my dog a fucking bar mitzvah and I threw her a party, and she was just a queen. And all of my friends were in on it. And they were like, we love this dog because you love this dog. And we're just going to give her a whole day of love. And the whole day was surrounded by love for my dog, but inadvertently me too.
Oh,
you know? And we had matching little outfits. We had like everyone dressed up. Like it was a whole thing. It was a whole thing in the backyard. We did a hora. I put the dog in a bucket and did a little hora with the dog in a bucket. Like, yeah, this is what we do. This is what we do. It's hilarious. And why not? Why
exactly. You might as well. You're giving that perfect example of having fun, of living. So many people just exist. You were living and you were making sure that your dog lived also the best last days, weeks, months of its life.
Yeah. She sure did. She died less than a month after that. And on the day that I decided to say this was it, you know, I kind of could feel it. And I made a promise to her when I picked her up from the shelter that I was going to give her the best fucking life that I possibly could for as long as I could. And I never, ever, ever wanted her to suffer. And I was like, if I don't do this now, I run the risk of her suffering.
Yeah.
I run the risk of coming home and she's suffocating on the floor because it spread to her lungs. I run the risk of her dying alone while I'm at the grocery store. And I was like, I'm just not going to do that to her. So I got a wagon and I decorated said wagon and I played New Orleans jazz and I gave her a parade like they do in New Orleans on the way to the cemetery. And through the streets of Boston.
I love
and
it.
My friends were there and we had on boas and it was just like I gave this bitch a New Orleans send off like on the way into the vet. And there was not a minute of her life that was filled with sadness. Like I took all of it on. I took all of it on so that she didn't have to suffer. And I know people might be like, well, it was just a dog. But I think we do that with people we love. I took my dad off life support so that he wasn't going to be suffering in some vegetative state, right? Like I took that on. And we do that when we love. We do that. That's unconditional love. And you don't need to have children and you don't need to be in a specific role to understand that. Like when you love someone or something deeply, you will do whatever you need to do to stop them from suffering. You will take it all on to make sure that they only know joy. And that's what I did. And I think that was the lesson that she gave me was like to just open and love. And this is it, you know? And I think I learned that from my dad, but I got to practice it through her.
And that's just beautiful.
Thank you. She was the best, man.
It is, because again, you're ignoring all of society's shoulds.
Yeah.
Like, you should be giving her chemo. You should be getting her blood work done. You should be doing this. So what's one should, had to kill in yourself before you actually live your own story?
I guess it was, I should worry about what other people think or need. But my life is for me. And if somebody needs something from me and I'm not obligated to do it, I might want to, but not at the expense of who I am and what I need to do for myself. And I think a lot of my life doesn't make sense to other people, and it doesn't have to.
Exactly.
It doesn't fucking have to. So I think it was letting go of like the deference and the people pleasing of like, well, I just, I don't want to make any waves. And now I'm like, I live in a wave pool. Like I live in a tsunami. Like I'm going to make a fucking wave every day of my life. And if you don't like it, kindly step out of the way and go fuck yourself. Like I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. But I think to stop listening to what people think you should do, because everyone wants to be in the peanut gallery, and people will only give you advice from their own vantage point and their own life experience. So if you're around people whose lives you don't necessarily want, I don't know why we're listening to their opinion. I don't want to be a mom. I don't want to live in a cul-de-sac. I don't want to have a fucking man-child of a husband. I don't want any of that. So I don't know why you think that you're entitled to give me advice, and I don't know why I ever bothered to listen to it, because any advice that you give me is coming from a place that I don't want to be in.
Exactly. No, I agree with that. Because I'm in that's that similar boat where almost 47, single, no kids, living the digital nomad life, and having my mom say to me, like, well, don't you want a place of your own? Don't you get tired of living out of a suitcase? It's like, yes, I want a place of my own. Yes, at times I do get sick of living out of a suitcase, but you know what? That's where my life is taking me right now. So yeah, I'm gonna live life on my terms, whoever likes it or not, because it's my life. It's my happiness that matters.
Yeah. And I think people leave that out of the conversation. Like, instead of asking what we want based off of what you think we should have. So for example, you don't want a house? Saying it like that means you're judging me for what I'm not having based on what you think I should have. I think the better question that we all need to ask each other is, what do you want? What would make you happy? And ask it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to look like your life. And if I say that's important to me, guess what? That's the truth. That's what it is. You don't have to be like, really? That's too bad. You sure you don't want a house? Like, no. Personally, no. You think that I have time and space and energy to mow a lawn?
Yeah.
Like I do life on what? I don't give a shit. I don't care. I just one day want to pack everything up and get the hell out of here and move to like a beach or go to Europe or something. Like, I'm not trying to have a mortgage.
Yeah.
What are you kidding me?
Like the mortgage thing. No, I don't want that either.
It's about finding what works for your lifestyle.
Yes.
Like, what kind of life do you want? And that's, again, I don't think the question that we ask a lot of people. It's like, well, you should do this and you should have that. And like, how come your life doesn't look like mine? And I think when people check these life boxes of like marriage and kids and house and all of that, and they have the stable job, and that's just one way. That's just one way to live, and it's one way to find joy. And if that works for you, congratulations. That would make me die a slow death if I had to live that life. That's not for me. And I think if we just ask, like, well, what would make you happy? What kind of life do you envision? And for anybody listening who isn't falling into that category, like, what do you want your life to look like? If you don't have any kids and you don't have a husband, you have the ultimate autonomy and agency to go do whatever the fuck you want in your life. And and you don't have to answer to anybody. You don't have to like worry about somebody else's feelings. Like, you just get to create from a place of authenticity without any distractions and influence. So maybe that's the question, like, what kind of life do you want? I knew for me, like, I wanted to live a financially stable life. I want to be wealthy. I want to be wealthy so that I don't have to work a day in my life and I can just fuck off. That's really what I want. I wanted to live a life where there was full of joy and ridiculousness, and I did that with my dog. And I'm having parties for my dog. I had a business baby shower and a gender reveal for myself, right? Like, I think it's fun.
Yeah.
That's the kind of life that I want to live. And if it doesn't make sense to somebody else, that doesn't matter, because it's not their life. You know, I want to live a life of joy. I want to live a life of freedom. I want to live a life of peace. I want to live a life of autonomy, and I want to live a life of wealth. So what am I doing in my life to cultivate that? And maybe having a house is not it.
Exactly, because it's your life and you're going to live it on your terms.
For sure. Absolutely.
So for someone listening right now who's stuck in their own sad girl era right now, what's the brutal truth that you'd tell them about climbing out of it?
That you have to, there's no way to bypass it, because I think what ends up happening is that we try to distract ourselves from the feelings that we feel. And I think for me, I wasn't paying attention for 10 goddamn years. I stayed there for a really long time. And I think the more that we can admit, like, I'm not happy. This is really hard. I don't like how I feel. Not finding joy in my everyday life or anything like that. I think we can get clear of like, well, wait a second, what's not working? And all the things in our life just serve as information for redirection if we're paying attention. And I think we can't bypass the feelings of sadness, the feelings of inadequacy, the feelings of anger. We can try and distract them. And I think for me, I started a business.
Okay.
Like, yeah, that I'll just accomplish myself out of sadness. And it derailed me a little bit, but eventually the bill comes due and you have to pay it. You have to pay what you've been putting off. So I think you can't bypass it. It doesn't matter how many yoga retreats you go on or what business you start. Like, you have to sit in the suck and the reality of your grief. And your grief can be the loss of a person. It could be the loss of like for me, it was my father, the grief of my dog, or the grief of my life is not what I want it to be. That is also a form of grief. Anytime that your reality is not matching the expectation, you have to honor that and you have to feel it. So the only way out of your sad girl era is to honestly and authentically recognize that you're in it and go through it. You have to feel it. You got to be on your knees. You got to be knocked down, drag out, emotional. It has to be fucking uncomfortable. And you have to go through it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there.
You're
100%.
You're like, oh, I just need to find a partner.
Nope, that's bypassing it. One of the greatest things that, and I've said this before, one of the greatest things that a mentor said to me relates to exactly what it is that you just said. And when she said to me, sit in the ick.
Sit in the suck, man.
Like, you gotta, because I was doing like and she's like, I'm going to stop responding to you right now, because even this right now is you trying to distract yourself from sitting in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Stop calling your friend every time you feel uncomfortable. Like, go crazy in your house. Like, writhe around on the floor. Like if you feel nuts, but that's you processing the emotion and letting it leave your body and letting it become like named outside of yourself. Because if you feel it and you're like, oh, I don't like this, and then you like go on Hinge.
Yeah,
I don't like this, and then you like book another yoga retreat. Like, no, you're gonna find yourself right back here in the same goddamn spot with stronger, bigger, heavier, darker emotions each and every time.
Oh, absolutely. It's having that bathroom floor moment, having sounds come out of your body that you didn't even know were humanly possible.
Yes.
When my dad died, or even before he died, I was on the beach in January having full-blown temper tantrums. 40 some odd years old, having full-blown stomping my hands, yelling, screaming, tears pouring down my face.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a shit. And that's the other thing. When we're feeling these feelings, we have to release any attachment that we have but I can't let that come up. Because what if someone sees it, or what if someone hears me? It's like, no, let it out.
It's the most human thing you can do to be honest with yourself, and these feelings and these emotions are all part of this universal experience of humanity, that life is wild. Life is bananas.
Yeah.
And it's all the things, all the time, all at once. And it's crazy. It's a lot, but you can't, I think being able to understand that and be in it and accept it gives you more control over it.
Yeah.
Gives you more control over yourself, because once you recognize that everything around you is a shit show, then you get to decide how you show up in said shit show.
Exactly, because nobody's life is perfect. We're all going through something.
Yeah.
Angela, where can people find you?
Oh, I'm all over the internet talking all kinds of shit. So you can find me there at the Angela Gentile. It's my name with the in front of it. And that's on TikTok and on Instagram. Those are my two social media delights of choice. And yeah, that's where you can find me. And I also have, if you are single and child free, I also have wonderful, amazing virtual community called the Single and Child Free Network, because I'm on a mission to provide like a safe and validating and connective space for single and child free women, because our life is not sad. It is not meaningful. It is so powerful and so beautiful. We just need to find the right people to share it with and connect and have the right resources for us to live a dope and epic life. And that's what the Single Child Free Network does. There's a spreadsheet of single child free people from all across the country that you can access by their social media handle. And then every week we do co-working, where you can like get rid of some of that executive functioning overwhelm because you're doing life alone on one goddamn income. You can just show up and like have 1 hour where you can pay bills or send emails or do the shit that you've been putting off. I have monthly workshops to help us get our finances together, estate planning, maybe how we use like tarot or human designs. I try to bring in stuff that's just going to give us resources for us to live the most aligned and best life possible. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, hope to see you in there.
Awesome. We'll include all of that in the show notes.
Of course.
Angela, this has been awesome.
Thank
you for sharing, being honest, and your authentic self.
I appreciate it.
And this concludes another episode of Hot Mess Magic.